Okay, we are live. I'm unpausing the recording. Okay. So, welcome tonight at 7:01. I will open tonight's meeting. And this is the Tuesday, September 8th meeting of the Board of Selectmen of Lunenburg. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread, and all town facilities are open during limited hours. Appointments after hours can be arranged by calling the departments. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, all public meetings are being conducted remotely. This meeting will be broadcast through the local access channel and on Facebook Live on the public access Facebook page. It will also be able to be found on the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel within 24 hours after the meeting has concluded. If you would like to participate in this meeting remotely, you can use a smartphone, a computer, or a tablet. Download the Zoom app, which I'm sure you've all heard about by now. And tonight's webinar ID is 909-174-0347. If you would like to participate but don't have any of those devices, you can still join by phone by dialing 888-475-4499 and again entering the webinar ID of 909-174-0347. The agenda topic lists all the topics that may be discussed at this meeting and are reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the open meeting law. Take that moment now to become familiar where your raise your hand button is. So if you'd like to communicate and speak, please raise your hand so I see it. If you're on a phone, you enable the raise your hand function by typing in *9, and I will see it and I will call on people at the appropriate time. Okay, that being said, we'll open by roll call vote. Ms. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Dwyer.
Here.
Mr. Marino.
Present.
And I am present. Mr. Jeffries will be not attending today. And Madam Town Manager, you are also here with us, so thank you. We'll start by going to Katie for the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance. Take it away, Katie.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would open up tonight's meeting and ask if there's any public comment from the board this evening. Seeing none. I will ask from the public if there's any public comment from the public this evening. Also seeing none. Okay. Any announcements, Madam Town Manager?
Yes, there will be a flu clinic on Wednesday, October 14th at the middle school, high school. And those hours are 3 to 6 p.m. More information is on the website and was posted on Facebook as well.
Thank you. Okay, 7:05. Wow, all right. We're starting off good, right on time. 7:05, appointments. We have a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Library Trustees to determine the appointment of Laura Bosom to the Library Board of Trustees vacancy, term to expire at the next annual town election. So people would raise their hand and who's on the Conroy. I'm going to unmute all those people. So give me a moment to unmute all of you. Harry, Kate, obviously, Laura, you're the woman of the hour. So let me find you on the list. Here we go. Richard. Come on. Okay, so let's see. I'll just call you in order here. So, Mr. Conroy, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. There's somebody who's dialing in. Who is dialing in? 502-897-41? Oh, hold on. They're muted. Did we ever resolve why I was unable to unmute people on the phone last week?
Donna Saya from Library
Saya.
Trustees.
All right, there we go. Now I got it. Okay, so let me rename you so we can see you. Okay. And Dick, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
All right. Kate, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Laura?
Yes.
Harry?
Yep.
Am I missing anybody who should be unmuted from
Muir.
anybody on?
Your HAMAN.
Yes, let's unmute Muir. Okay, Muir, are you there?
I am.
Okay, this constitutes everybody from the library that we need and the applicant, correct?
No,
Yes.
One
Maya.
more person.
Oh,
Maya
hold
Winthrop.
on.
Myas Winthrop.
Winthrop. Okay, there we go. All right. Maya, are you with us now?
I am, thank you.
Okay, this is get to know your fellow elected officials. Okay, I will open it up for this. I will probably start with, unless somebody has a better place, start with the applicant. Laura, if you want to tell everyone a little bit about you and why you want to be on the library board of trustees, unless somebody has.
Tom, I'm sorry, Harry Kubetz. Do I need to open our meeting at this point? That's a separate meeting or not?
Yes, you should. Yes.
Okay, may I have a moment to do that?
You may.
Okay, so it is 7:09 p.m. and I'm calling the meeting of the library, Lunenburg Public Library Board of Trustees to order. Since this is an electronic meeting, we're going to do a quick roll call again. Bob Conroy.
Here.
Dick Mayo.
Here.
Donna Saya.
Here.
Kate McCarron.
Here.
Maya Winthrop.
Here.
Harry Kubetz present. Okay, so thank you.
Maya.
Mr. Alonso, sorry? I thought I got mine.
Maya? Oh, did you? Okay.
I think so. So, Mr. Alonso, thank you. The Library Board of Trustees is in session.
Okay. So then I'll go back to the applicant, Laura, if you would like to introduce yourself to our board and to the people watching at home, and why, a little bit about yourself and about why you want to serve on the Library Board of Trustees.
Okay. I've been in town 20 years and I raised 2 boys here. They're both in college now. I have a degree in accounting, but I haven't worked since my kids were born. I drive Meals on Wheels in town. I've done that for 3 years. I've volunteered at the Pollinator Habitat, and I've done stuff with the Boy Scouts when my kids were in Scouts. I'm not real busy anymore, and I understand there's openings in town that need to be filled, and Kate approached me when the opening came up and asked if I'd be interested, and I am. It would be good to learn more about what goes on in town government and things like that.
Excellent. Have you met with the Library Board of Trustees?
Yes.
Okay. So you're familiar with responsibilities, and obviously you're familiar with the membership then?
Yes.
I would open it up to our Board of Selectmen, if anybody has any questions for Ms. Boson.
I just have a comment. Thank you.
Okay. Let's choose this time for a comment then. You can feel free to comment, Katie.
Oh, I just said I have a comment and I just said thank you.
Oh, that was your comment. Okay.
Yeah, just thank you. Filling vacancies is, I think if we ever see a day where we don't have one, that'll be really cool. I know a lot of people have been working on it. So it's nice to have full boards.
Excellent. Anybody from the Library Board of Trustees or from the library at all would like to say something? Please raise your hand on the Zoom and I will call on you. You're unmuted anyway, most of you. Bob.
Hi, Tom. This is Robert Conroy. I just wanted to say thank you also for Laura's interest.
Muir.
Muir Hammond, Library Director. Anytime we have the opportunity to add a trustee who is also a library user, it's always great for the library and the community as a whole. So we're excited for Laura to join us.
Excellent. Anybody else? Harry.
I would just like to second everyone else and thank Laura for volunteering. And presumably we look forward to welcome you on the board.
Kate?
Just reiterating the thank yous and also that Laura will be a real asset. She's been involved, as she said, with her kids and her family and always interested in whatever the library did for programs, for collection development, has just been a really an excellent patron.
Excellent.
So thanks, Laura, for stepping up.
You're welcome.
For myself, I'll say it's always a pleasure when somebody steps forward to volunteer for a position. It's especially nice when somebody who's a fresh face who hasn't been seen in a lot of other capacities, getting new people in, I think is critical to the whole organization. So I appreciate your stepping forward and getting involved, Laura. Okay.
I can make a motion if you like.
I want to make sure nobody has any other further comments. Go ahead, Katie.
Okay, I would make a motion that we appoint Laura Bowsam to the Library Board of Trustees, term to expire at the next annual election, and it's a joint appointment between the Selectmen and the Board of Library Trustees.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that. Thanks, Todd.
All right, so let's go. I'll do the board. I'll do my board, Harry, and then you can do yours. So it's a joint session, so your board doesn't have to make the motion. The motion that Katie made applies to both, but I'll call the roll for my members. So Ms. Adams.
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer.
Aye.
Mr. Marino.
Aye.
And an aye for me. Oh. All yours, Harry.
Hey, Bob Conroy?
Aye, yes.
Dick Mayo?
Yes.
Donna Saya?
Yes.
Kate McCarron?
Yes.
Maya Winthrop?
Aye.
Harry Kubetz, aye.
I think you know the result of that without me having to say it, but congratulations, Laura.
Thank you.
And before you go to your next meeting, please visit the town clerk and get sworn in properly, and then you're free to participate in the meetings.
Okay. Will do.
Once again, thank you on behalf of all of us.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Thanks, Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Library.
All right. At 7:10, we have. Let me mute people going out.
Hey, Tom, I'm sorry. May I please?
Harry, you have to call your.
I want to adjourn my meeting, please.
Yes.
Okay, I would like a motion, please, to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Would someone please second that?
Second.
That was Bob Conroy seconding that. So we're going to do a roll call on this. Bob Conroy?
Yes.
Dick Mayo?
Yes.
Donna Saya? I think Donna actually got off when she...
Donna may have dropped.
Okay. Do we need to get her back?
No, you have enough to close the meeting.
Okay. Kate McCarron?
Yes.
Donna? Maya?
Yes. Stay there.
And Harry, yes. So it is now 7:16, and the library Board of Trustee meeting is now adjourned. Hey, Board of Selectmen, thank you very much for your help this evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
all your board. Thank you. And thanks, Muir, for attending and those comments.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Thank you, Harry.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay.
All right, let's give everybody a moment here. I think we have everybody muted or dropped. Okay, at 7:10, we have the fiscal 2020 fourth quarter financial report from the finance director. So let me unmute the finance director.
Please
Karen,
tell me you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh my God, thank God. After last week. And I'm still having computer problems, by the way, but we're going to get through this anyway. I'm on my phone. Okay, so I have a report for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 20 for both the revenue and expenditures. What I'll do is
I'm going to ask you pause for a second, Karen.
Sure.
And ask the town manager, Madam Town Manager, do you want to share the screen with the report for people at home? A little difficult for my.
If you give me a minute, I can.
Okay. So, well, I'm going to make you the host. Don't anybody who's unmuted, don't mute yourself because the town manager is going to show it. I think you may be able to share. See if you can share your screen now. Whenever you get it. I don't think you maybe need to be host. Go ahead, Karen, while she's looking that up.
Well, what I was going to do is just read the report, and then if there were any questions at the end, I would certainly take those. So I'll start with the report. Attached, please find both revenue and expenditure reports for the fourth quarter of FY20, and below is a summary of the reports. On the revenue side, total collections for FY20 were $43,089,170.81. The actuals exceeded the estimates by 0.6% or $267,292. Below is a summary of the individual categories. For local receipts, we exceeded our FY20 local receipt estimate by 7.9% or a total of $243,054. There were 7 categories that exceeded estimates. Those categories are as follows. Fines and forfeits, we collected 136.6% of the estimate, or $9,970 more than what was estimated. Other excise meals tax, we collected 133.6% of the estimate, or $33,887 more than what was estimated. For fees, we collected 101.1% of the estimate for an increase of $1,720. Motor vehicle excise, we collected 108.5% of the estimate, or an increase of $141,611 more than what was estimated. Investment income, we collected 162.6% of the estimate, or $39,385 higher than what was estimated. Licenses and permits, we collected 131.3% of the estimate for a total increase of $78,938 more than what was estimated. And miscellaneous non-recurring receipts, we collected 101.7% of the estimate, or $3,608 higher. There were several categories that did not meet estimates, including departmental revenue other, which was at 94.8% of the estimate, or $14,392 lower than what was estimated. Departmental revenue schools, we collected 50.2% of the estimate, or $59,735 lower than what was estimated. And penalties and interest, we collected 99.1% of that estimate, or $1,353 lower than what was estimated. However, due to the increases in the other categories, overall actuals exceeded estimates. For taxes, we received 99% of what was estimated, or $276,228 less than the levy estimate. We did, however, also receive $229,177 in tax lien revenue. State aid, we received 100.1% of our state aid estimate, or $71,289 more than what our estimate was. The reason for this increase was primarily due to increases in our Smart Growth 40S reimbursement from what was on the cherry sheet originally. On the expenditure side, we expended and or encumbered $41,602,530, which was 97.2% of our budgeted expenditures. There were appropriation closeouts in the amount of $1,182,590. State assessments were $36,759 lower than our cherry sheet estimates, and the reason for that was primarily due to changes in choice and charter tuition costs for students going out of district. Just a quick summary of some of the closeouts on the expenditure side. In the Selectmen's Administration, there was a balance of $19,608, or 16.6% of the total budget. The primary reason for that surplus was due to the hiring date of the assistant town manager, because it didn't happen until, I think it was November, as opposed to July. The reserve fund, we had an unappropriated balance of $58,110. The salary reserve, we had an unappropriated balance of $59,598. Public buildings, there was a surplus at the end of the year of $44,110, and that was primarily due to unexpended utility costs. Facilities and grounds, there was an unexpended balance of $51,246. That was primarily due to decreased costs in contracted services line. The police department closed out $102,600, which is equivalent to 5.9% of their department budget. There was an unexpended balance in the lockup account of $51,188. The fire department closed out $17,618. Radio watch, there was an unexpended balance of $13,272, and that was primarily a surplus in the payroll line in that appropriation. The building department closed out $12,062. The school department had an unexpended balance of $98,414, or 0.5% of their total budget. General highway, there was an unexpended balance of $98,951. Highway labor, there was an unexpended balance of $51,557. Vehicle maintenance, there was an unexpended balance of $43,427. And I believe the majority of that was decreased fuel costs. Veterans benefits, there was an unexpended balance of $15,909. The park department closed out $15,626. There was an unexpended balance in our liability insurance of $44,524. And last, there was an unexpended balance of $266,419 in our insurance appropriations for health, life, and Medicare insurance, which was equal to about 10% of that budget. So that being said, right now, if we compared FY19 to FY20, Certified free cash at the close of FY19 was $1,107,694. The balance sheet for FY20 hasn't been submitted yet to the state, but my estimate at this point in time would be between 1.6 and $1.7 million. So that would be an increase in our certified free cash with the $1.6 million estimate of $492,306.
I will open it up to the board if they have any questions for the finance director. I have a few questions, Karen.
Sure.
So the first one is on the revenue side, the receipts. The categories that didn't meet the receipts, can you explain those, the departmental revenue on the other and the school?
Well, the departmental revenue other, that receipt is basically our ambulance receipts. And what we did from FY19 to FY20 was, I believe that estimate was funded at what we actually received in FY19. So it came in slightly lower, but the estimate itself, let's see, do I have that? Take a look. Hold on one second. So that is ambulance receipts, and the estimate that we had was $276,947. We actually collected $262,400. So it was about 5.3% less than what we estimated. Okay. I mean, I don't know exactly what the reason would be for that. It's obviously based on use, so.
Okay. And what about the departmental revenue school?
Departmental revenue schools, the majority of the estimate for students that are Medicaid eligible, and we receive a reimbursement through the state for those students, and it's based on usage. But I know there was a change in the way that those funds are being distributed, so I would think that we would probably see a bump in that number in fiscal 21 that would make up for the difference that we didn't receive in FY20.
Okay. If I may, even though it's not subject, because we have the opportunity to speak with you here, with all the talk about the economy and where it's going, do you have any early comments on FY21 fiscal quarter one?
Well, not so much quarter one, but for FY21, I just did put together a summary today comparing FY20 July 2019 revenues to FY21 July 2020 revenues, and there was a slight decrease, but it was not anything substantial. And I think part of the reason for the decrease from July of 19 to July of 20 was due to the fact that the timing of when taxes are actually due. As an example, our real estate taxes for August 1st, we would typically see all of that revenue mostly in July, but in FY21, the actual taxes for the first quarter weren't due until August 3rd because of the way that the August 1st date falls. So at least in my opinion right now, I would think that we would be able to meet our current estimates that we used for the town meeting in May.
So nothing to be alarmed at this point.
Not at all. But I mean, obviously, we'll continue to watch that. And I'm going to try to get August updated as soon as everything is posted in for August so that we can keep an eye on the trends and make sure that we don't see anything that would give us reason to want to decrease any of the estimates that we're currently using for FY21. But like I said, in my opinion right now, I think that the estimates that we have are that will meet those estimates.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to want to keep our pulse on these metrics very close this year. So I appreciate you sharing that information. I also thank you for preparing a very detailed report. And this is good news going into a year that that nobody knows which way it's going to go. So this is good news that we'll have this money hopefully certified for free cash, ready for the special and for next year's town meeting.
Oh, I'll definitely have it submitted and certified so that it's available for, I mean, I don't know that we would want to necessarily appropriate it. Well, unless something changes drastically, that we would want to appropriate any of those dollars for our FY21 budget, but at least we would know that it would be available for FY22.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Just thank you to Karen.
You're welcome. Okay. I'm glad you guys can hear me this time.
Yes, yeah. I'm glad very, very much fewer technical problems than last week. So
someday you might be able to see me again too.
I'd like to thank her also.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mr. Marino.
Okay, Karen, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
You still have your lucky tree up?
My lucky tree, I actually took it down because I have a feeling that things are trending on the good side now. So we're not going to need the lucky tree. I have a positive attitude.
I just knocked on wood just in case.
That's right.
Okay, thanks, Karen.
You're welcome. Night, everybody.
Night.
Night.
Okay, let's, I see that we have people on here for ratification. So let's jump to that, to the ratification. So we have the ratification of the town manager appointment of Acting Sergeant Joshua Matthew. Okay, Matthew. And Reserve Officer Daniel Gonzalez, and Reserve Officer Jeffrey Hill, and Reserve Officer Paul Duquette. So let me get those people unmuted. So give me a moment for that. Mr. Gonzalez, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
And Mr. Duquette, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
And let's see, Jeffrey Hill. Can you hear us?
Yes.
And Nick Marino, there we go.
Yes, sir.
And of course, Acting Chief Gamble.
I can hear you.
Sergeant
Matthew. Hand it over to the town manager or to the acting chief.
And Tom, I think we missed Acting Sergeant Joshua Matthew, otherwise known as Kaylee.
I did. Okay, hold on. Searching. As Kaylee. Yeah, you're not Kaylee, I'm assuming. So let's change that first. I apologize, Joshua, for not knowing automatically. Having taken 7 years of French, I knew how I wanted to say it, but that may not be how you said it, so I got caught in between. So no problem. So town manager and chief, acting chief, I'll hand it over to you to introduce these gentlemen and then let themselves introduce themselves, and then we can vote.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, if acting Chief Gamble can take over from here and introduce the officers.
Thank you, Madam Town Manager. Thank you, Mr. Alonso. First person I'd like to present is Officer Joshua Matthew to be appointed as an acting sergeant with us. He's been with us as a reserve since 2011. Came on as a full-time officer in 2012. He has a bachelor's degree from Westfield State College. He's attended various investigative classes as well as FTO classes. I've observed Officer Matthew throughout his career, and I'm very impressed in the way he instructs and teaches our younger officers. He's taken an active interest. With his background in investigation and his background with us and his education and the way he presents himself, he has some excellent qualities as a leader. I would recommend that Officer Matthew be presented as a acting sergeant with us.
Well, I'll hand it over to you, Officer Matthew, if you would like to say anything.
I appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that I can live up to the expectation and I'll do the best I possibly can.
I appreciate that. Mr. Marino.
Well, I can speak on behalf of the Board of Selectmen with respect to Officer or Sergeant Matthew. I will recuse myself from the other appointees as I was involved in their recruitment. I was instrumental in their training. And of course, one of them is related to me directly. But with respect to Sergeant Matthew, I'd just like to say that, of course, I worked with Josh for several years, and I always felt that he was a kind and motivated and individual. His ability to interact with the public was always like second to none. I was always proud of him for that. And I think he's going to be an excellent sergeant. As Chief Gamble said, he has a real knack with training the recruits. So his leadership abilities are just outstanding, and I wish him the best of luck in his career going forward.
Thank you, Selectman. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Any other questions of the applicant or the not applicant, but the nomination by the town manager and the chief?
Sure, Mr. Chair, did you want us to motion these one at a time, or are we going to hold?
I think we're going to do the sergeant because it's a different rank. We'll do it alone, and then we'll try to introduce all the reserve officers together. Unless somebody has objection, we could do them together. But the sergeant we should do alone, I think.
Okay, so we ready for a motion, or do people have more to say?
Unless somebody has any other questions, I don't see any hands raised. So yes, I would think we're ready for a motion. Okay, so make a motion that we ratify the appointment of Acting Sergeant Joshua Matthew, effective 9/9/2020. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
Aye.
And an aye for me. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good luck in your new role. If all the words that everybody spoke about you should fit very well, and you should be very productive there. So we look forward to your service again in a new capacity.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Josh.
Chief Gamble.
Thank you. Would you like me to go through all four of them, and then?
Yeah, you can introduce them all, and then we can hear from them directly.
Okay, great. The first one I'd like to introduce is Nick Marino, which Selectman Marino alluded to is his son, retired Chief Marino. Needless to say, Nick comes from a family that is held in high regard here in the town of Lunenburg. Nick is a lifelong resident, a graduate of Lunenburg High School, and he's currently pursuing a degree in criminal justice. Nick is regarded as very thoughtful and helpful and a hardworking individual. Dan Gonzalez, also a lifelong resident of Lunenburg, a graduate of Lunenburg High School. He was a step intern with us when he was in high school. It's a pleasure to see how far he's come since his senior year. He holds a bachelor degree from the University of Lowell, and he's pursuing a master's degree also from the University of Lowell. Jeff Hill, he comes to us from Fitchburg. He's a lifelong resident of Fitchburg, graduate of Fitchburg High School. He holds an associate from Mount Wachusett Community College and is pursuing his bachelor's degree from Fitchburg State. Jeff is currently a full-time dispatcher with the Fitchburg Police Department, and he's also regarded as a hard worker over there. Paul Andrew Duquette, he's also a lifelong resident of Lunenburg, graduate of Lunenburg High School. He is currently a full-time firefighter with the Fitchburg Fire Department, and he's also a call firefighter with the Lunenburg Fire Department. So it's a pleasure to have him on board also. I would also like to say that I've had extensive conversations with all 4 candidates, and every one of them have excellent qualities. And I think with their community ties and their work ethic and what they bring to the table, they're going to be, their futures are bright with the town of Lunenburg and with our police department, and I think they'll be excellent assets for us. I also would like to commend each one of them on wearing a tie and a coat, and they look outstanding.
So in the order that they were introduced, I'll start with Mr. Marino.
How's it going, guys? I'd just like to thank you all for this opportunity, and I look forward to getting started.
Mr. Gonzalez.
I would just like to thank you for the opportunity, and I hope that I will be able to serve my community well.
Mr. Hill.
This opportunity. Same as Danny and Nick, very excited to serve the town of Lunenburg.
And Mr. Duquette.
Hi, how you doing? I've been working with the guys at the police department for a little while now, with being on the fire side, and I'm excited to get my career started with them. And I want to thank everyone for the opportunity.
I would open it up to the board. If anybody has any questions for any of the men before us.
I would just make a comment. I don't have a lot of questions tonight, just comments. I just wanted to thank the police department in general. I think both with former Chief Marino and with now Acting Chief Gamble, we have a good police department. It's been a nice part of the community, and you can feel that continue to thread itself in a good direction. So thank you.
I would echo that. I think that for lack of a better term, I'll put it in sport terms, the farm team that the police department has shown, and the way that they brought officers forward and then advanced them through their careers, giving them increasing responsibility and interaction with the community has been spectacular in the last years. I know it will continue under Acting Chief Gamble, and I look forward to all of you serving the town well, especially being sons of the town or sons of neighboring towns. I think working close to where you grow up, I think brings a special dedication to the job. Not that people who come from other places aren't, but I think you have more in the stake, more in the game, I think. So I appreciate you all coming forward, going through this at all the various parts of your beginning careers and landing here, being able to serve Lunenburg. Okay, I will entertain a motion regarding the ratification of the 4 appointees by the town manager and the acting chief.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. I would make a motion that we ratify the appointment of Reserve Officer Nicholas Marino effective September 9th, 2020, and Reserve Officer Daniel Gonzalez September 10th, 2020, Reserve Officer Jeffrey Hill effective September 10th, 2020, and Reserve Officer Paul Duquette effective September 11th, 2020.
Well, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
I'll need to abstain.
Okay, and an aye for me. Congratulations to you all. I look forward to the next time I see you, hopefully in uniform. And good luck on your beginning of your careers, and to you, Joshua, to the continuance of yours.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Katie.
Oh, I was going to say, Chief Gamble already said so, but Zoom is such an awkward space. Go change, put something new on, and sit back down at the kitchen table. But it is nice to see people participate in a formal way that, just like the awkward Pledge of Allegiance with my flag. I mean, we're all trying, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to Senior Taxation Work-Off Program Committee Member at Large with Laura again. All right. A twofer. Hold on, let me find Laura and unmute her again. Laura, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So, take two. I'm sorry, I didn't look forward on the agenda. I would have probably done two of them at once, but not to let you wait.
Oh, well.
So, you want to also be part of the Senior Taxation Work-Off Program Committee?
Yes, I do.
All right, and we appoint that member at large. So have you been told what the Senior Taxation Work-Off Program is, I'm assuming?
I talked to Sue about it.
Okay.
She explained what it is. And I know that the Meals on Wheels job I do is one of the jobs that some people do for that.
Sure. Okay, I don't know if anybody has any questions. I think that we interviewed you before, and I think that the same holds true here, that we appreciate you coming forward and from nowhere to two positions at the end of this vote, I'm presuming, I'm going to predict. So thank you again for stepping forward for not one, but two jobs.
Yes, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Laura at this point? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Laura Bosom to the Senior Taxation Work-Off Program Committee as a member at large with a term to expire on June 30th, 2021.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Congratulations. And again, just the same thing when you go to do the take your oath for Library Board of Trustees, tell them you're for this position too, and you can get sworn in for both at the same time.
Okay, I will. Can I say one thing?
You may.
I see that you have Kevin Bowsum up next.
Yes.
He works Tuesday nights.
Yes, we misunderstood that. That was actually attempted to be relayed to us last week.
Okay.
Which is why it didn't make it there. But now we understand that he works Tuesdays and couldn't be here in person, and we will definitely take care of that tonight.
Well, he won't be here tonight either, so.
No, I know, but we're not expecting him. Last week we didn't know not to expect him.
Okay. Just want to make sure you understood. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Good night. Okay. So the Historical Commission, this was rollover from last week, as Laura just indicated. So Kevin Bosom at 48 Robs Hill Road to the Historical Commission. He works on Tuesday nights, which is why he was not here last week. That was relayed to us and we didn't catch it in time. So now we know. So we have his application form and what he put in on his talent bank form, I should say. If anybody has any questions, it seems like he comes highly recommended by the people in the Historical Commission, of which he's worked with a little bit and met. So I would, if somebody has any discussion point, Katie.
I was just going to say, I think it was maybe he's a college student or a young man. If I remember correctly, I think former Selectman McQuaid started on the Historical Commission in town government. So we'll see him in a couple of years doing something else.
We did. So if he follows that path, it'll be planning board, Selectmen, capital planning. There we go. Kevin, if you listen to this later on in the recording, you have your curriculum set out. All right, I would entertain a motion on appointing Kevin Bosom to the Historical Commission.
Okay, I would make a motion that we appoint Kevin Bosom to the Historical Commission, term to expire June 30th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
Aye.
And an aye for me. So, Madam Town Manager, if you would alert or have Elaine alert Kevin that he was appointed to that position and to get sworn in at his earliest convenience.
Certainly.
Okay, moving on, the ratification of the town manager appointment of heavy equipment operator Jarrett Ober.
Okay.
Madam Town Manager.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So as the board is aware, the DPW has been operating with a shortage of 3 highway workers that began in 2017. And so since that initial job posting of heavy equipment operator back in November of 2019, the HR director has received over 50 applications for these positions. But upon evaluation, more than half do not meet the requirements of the position, or they rescinded their application upon finding out they would not receive the top step of the pay range that the town is within the collective bargaining agreement. So this has resulted in about 4 interviews with the HR director, DPW director, and highway superintendent. The candidate before the board tonight to ratify is Mr. Jarrett Ober. He has background with working with heavy equipment, snow plowing, and currently holds his 2A 1C hoisting license with his most current position as an assistant yard foreman. His references indicate he is hardworking, dependable, task-oriented, and that he always has a positive attitude. So I'm asking the board to ratify my appointment of Jarrett Ober to the position of DPW heavy equipment operator.
Any questions for the town manager? Okay, I would entertain a motion about this ratification.
I'll make a motion that we.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Jared. What his name?
Ober.
Ober. As a heavy equipment operator for the DPW.
Over a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
Aye.
And an aye from me.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, that's a lot of spots filled tonight. That's
1 down, 2 to go.
wow, and all the other positions in town. So a lot of appointments tonight. That's good.
Yeah,
I like to see that.
for the highway on time.
Okay, we go to current business. The notice of right of first refusal, 61B property located at 250 Howard Street. We have the information in our Google Drive. And Madam Town Manager, if you would like to present it.
Yes, so we received the notice of intent to sell from the law offices of David Rocheford. And after, so our initial receipt, it needs to be returned to them because it didn't have all the information. We did finally receive a complete package on August 12th. This was also forwarded to the Planning Board, Conservation, and the Board of Assessors, as well as the Open Space Committee. And the Open Space Committee, Conservation Commission, and the Planning Board have all responded, and this is all following our procedures set out for Chapter 61A, 61B. And they all would like the board to exercise their right of first refusal. So to purchase the property for the acquisition price in the purchase and sale for $50,000.
Okay. Everybody has, I'm looking for the actual plot. Okay, so we have the Conservation Commission and the Open Space have both unanimously voted to try to match the price and purchase the property. And
it should say this is at 250 Howard Street.
I'll open it up for discussion if anybody has any remarks they'd like to make given the request and How much land is it? 15 acres. Okay.
15.22. And this is just an initial meeting. There would have to be, if the board did, would like to proceed with exercising that right, there would have to be another hearing. And there's a whole timeline involved in when a purchase would have to be made.
Right. And where does that timeline put us? Like where is the end date?
The end date with 120 days, I believe it calculates out to December 10th.
Okay.
So within that 120 days, I believe is the 90-day that once the board votes to exercise first right of refusal, a certification has to go to the owner and to the registry, and a purchase and sale has to be consummated within that 90 days.
Okay. Mr. Dwyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you've read through some of the recommendations from the boards, you know that this piece of property offers a lot of connectivity to adjacent land already owned by the town. And I think it would really be an asset for us to open up and make some of these spaces or parcels that we do own more accessible to the folks in town. So I fully support us to exercise our right.
Okay. Ms. Adams.
Sure. I just had a question in terms of and the timeline was already covered. If we get a little bit more presentation or discussion, I know this has come up in the past anyways, before we, make our recommendation. And it's my recollection, and maybe somebody can say that the parcels, that this parcel doesn't abut the conservation land, but it meets at a corner. And I didn't know what was being done to overcome that. Essentially, you'd get to the corner and have to hop on to the conservation land. And I don't know if is that how I'm remembering it correctly, that it does touch, but at a corner. So like a path wouldn't be necessarily possible.
Mr. Dwyer, having gone over this with the Conservation Commission, I'm looking at the lot line on the PDF that shows, it's parcel 12. I'm trying to look at what page on the PDF, page 6 of the PDF.
And I can't get my Google Docs open because my work docs keep uploading, but so I'm going off of memory, but I don't think they abutted each other.
Madam Town Manager, do you know this either?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Because according to what I see here, lot 12 abuts 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, and 1 it touches the corner of, but it has no real line. It just.
I think Katie's assessment is correct that it does. It's adjacent to the corner.
So the town owns number 10 in that picture.
That's my understanding. Yes.
Okay.
So my one concern, if that is the case, and I don't know if anybody's talked about it to overcome that, is that technically you can't make a path at a corner, or you can't make a connection at a corner. You have to make a leap.
Would seem to be correct.
And I value land, but not if it doesn't have true meeting at a cost.
Well, is it going to delay anything if we don't vote on this today and we vote on it next Tuesday?
Yeah, there was no expectation for the board to vote tonight. It was an introductory meeting.
So there's two things there's two things I'll say on this item, and then I'll go to you, Jim. First of all, I take the other boards and committees' opinion seriously, especially when they're unanimous. So for things like this, I'm generally lean toward they have done the studying of this. And the second one is the money part, which is that's up to the town. I'm not going to make a decision for the town whether they want to afford the $50,000 or not. that's really up to them. But I would like to know the answer to how this opens up something. I'd like to know on this map especially, or some similar map, what the town-owned lands are, and have that highlighted and what we're buying so we can see how it does or doesn't extend.
And that for the next time this is discussed.
Okay. Mr. Marino, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I'm not sure this question can be answered if I can even ask it, but what does the buyer intend to do with 15 acres of property? Do we know? Or can we ask that question?
I think they're looking to sell it as a residence, I'm guessing.
All right, so I mean, more than 15 acres for $50,000, it can't be that. Is it buildable?
Well, that's another good question. Yeah,
I'd like to know that. Whether or not, I mean, that to me would be a important thing to know.
A good deal.
Huh? Well, no,
no, there's got to be something wrong with it. Wetlands, or I'm not sure.
It's 171 feet wide, so it's certainly enough to put a house on it. It goes back for forever.
I just
for a quarter of a mile.
I just want to know why a couple of committees are highly motivated to spend $50,000 on more conservation land.
I think their letters answered that. Their correspondences said why, especially the Open Space Committee. They clearly said what categories it fulfilled in their mission statement.
Mr. Chairman, I would encourage us to invite the chairman of the Open Space Committee, Mr. Kibbe, in. He is a whiz at all of these, looking at all of these parcels and summarizing the benefits to the town. So I think moving forward, I think it would be behoove us to invite Mr. Kibbe in to give us his opinion.
I concur, and I'd like to invite the chair of the Conservation Commission too, if he would like to attend. I would extend an invitation to both of them to discuss what they're seeing, as well as, like I said already, the map showing where that other land that the town owns, where that comes into play here.
I did find, Mr. Chairman, on in the purchase and sale agreement, looks like they're looking to do a single family residence.
Right, that's what I would have figured with that. Okay, so can we get those invitations out and see if, even if it's short notice, see if they can make it next week? Otherwise, we can push it out, I guess, to the second week.
Yes, the time restriction you are up against is the closing of the warrant, because there would need to be a warrant article. So it would have to be by the September 22nd, unless either one of those other boards submitted an article. And then you could remove it at a later date.
Well, if we run up close, we can always put it on and not have to act on it if we don't agree. So it's easier to put it on. We can't put it on after, but we can take it off or pass over it. So there should be no issue with us getting it in the warrant. If we get too close to the date, we'll put it in. And if we decide at a later date we don't want to do it, we'll just motion to pass over it or remove it if we get it before printing. So
we'll coordinate the next date of when they're available, both those chairs of those committees for September.
Yeah, the good part is about the Zoom meetings, it doesn't matter really where they are, as long as they have the time slot free. If they're even not in town, they can still participate. Okay. Any other word on this topic? Okay, hearing none, we will go on to the next topic, which is minutes for approval, July 14th and the 21st of 2020. Does anybody have any comments about those, or did anybody submit any corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion for those two sets of minutes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve minutes from July 14th and July 21st, 2020.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
Aye.
An aye for me. Warrants. Last week I signed 3 warrants. The accounts payable warrant in $975,957.14. Payroll deduction warrant in the amount of $26,977.95. And a payroll warrant in the amount of $725,448.67. Any action items from anyone?
I just had something I wanted to ask us. Do we have things like our goals of Old Primary on upcoming agendas just to keep the conversation going?
We will have that, yes, at the end of the month. We'll go continue that. Or maybe even next week. I haven't gone over the next week's agenda with the town manager, but it will be by the end of the month, yes.
And thank you for all your warrant signing.
Oh, thanks. Next, any other action items? Excellent. Okay. Then committee reports. Any committee reports? I have one that I'll just say that the first capital planning committee meeting is tomorrow at 6 p.m. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the next meeting of the MJTC is this Thursday at 2:30 p.m.
Excellent, thank you.
And that's remote as well.
Okay, old business. We have the discussion of FY 2021 budget and special town meeting articles, including an article to amend FY 21 appropriations. I will hand that over to the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a general budget discussion about what will be proposed for FY 21 amendments based on my recommendations on the deferred items that we did not approve at the annual town meeting. So I asked both Acting Chief Gamble and Fire Chief Sullivan to provide updated figures for the additional police officer and the additional firefighter. So they got those amounts back to me. And the police officer, with the expectation that the earliest that someone would be hired, that hiring process would start would be January of 2021 after the special town meeting in November. The additional police officer would be $30,161, and the additional firefighter hiring in January to the end of June would be $38,928. The other amendments I expect will be at the special town meeting to occur will be an amendment to our new growth figure. Our new principal assessor has uncovered some properties that should be included in the new growth, which will increase our estimate from $173,400 to $250,000. She has not submitted that yet to do DOR, so that at this time is an estimate. So that's an additional $76,600 in new growth. Other amendments would be, I had announced that there would be reductions to the town health insurance line due to the July premiums that were reduced, that our health insurance company reduced our premiums by 50%. So the town estimate for that is $50,000, and on the school side is $118,000. I would also expect the capital planning committee to readdress the deferred capital items that were part of the fiscal 21 capital plan. And that deferred amount is $664,333. And I have contacted the school as well to see if there are any needs that are beyond what they received for funding at the annual town meeting, as well as if anything that exceeds the funds that they have received from the state and federal government due to COVID-19 and other grants. So awaiting that, and we'll likely have that conversation hopefully this week to have a more concrete idea of what amendments we're looking for the special town meeting.
Is there an overarching strategy that you're approaching this with? I mean, I realize everything is still very fluid and uncertain, and that the legislature is still, I think, still on recess. But is there any approach that you're employing going forward?
Well, based on we're watching, like as the finance director indicated, we're watching our receipts closely and each month going in. So comparing it to last year's month by month income. And we're trending in a good direction. As she indicated, our free cash, which I would not be recommending to appropriate any of that money at the special town meeting, but at the annual town meeting. So based on our bottom line estimates right now, we're in a very positive situation. And I think we can address some of those capital expenses as well as expenses we deferred until a special town meeting when we deferred those in June.
Thank you. Any questions for the town manager on that item, or any other items for discussion on that? No. Okay. Well, let's go to our policy workshop. There were 3 policies that we were looking for. Let's take them individually. So the first one was our policy on placing a ballot question on an election ballot. So I think after, maybe the town manager, you should, because I think you have a draft of this that you proposed some time back that we never adopted, but it was proposed. So if you can go over that.
Yes, thank you. So this I initially proposed to the board, I believe it was last November in 2019. And this was part of, I had written a report regarding the marijuana ballot questions. And at that time I had recommended, based on all the timelines that are needed to meet the placement of questions on both a town meeting warrant and election ballot, to put together a policy and procedure so the board can receive a request for a ballot question in sufficient time to get it on both an annual town meeting or election warrant.
So that draft is in our documentation for this evening. Has everybody read through this?
I have.
Okay.
I read through it as well.
Okay. Did it, I mean, does everybody feel like it's ready to be passed? Were there any discussion points that anybody had on this process? I mean, when I read it the first time, it made perfect sense about clearly detailing what the process needs to be and what the different checkpoints are.
I think it's good to have something with more structure, and anything we put in, we identify changes, we can amend them.
Yeah, I think the whole point of this after what happened with those ballot questions was that there was no policy and procedure in place. This institutes that so everybody can point to what should have happened and what has to happen along the way. So anytime we can clarify that, I think it's very important and useful. I think this details it as well as any other. And so I certainly would be in favor of putting this on.
Yeah, I agree, Mr. Chairman. I think it was well written and very detailed.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion regarding the draft of the placement of questions on a local election ballot.
Second that.
I'm going to entertain a motion. So are you making?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll make a motion that we, well,
adopt
this policy on placement of questions in a local election ballot.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
The only change I would make is select board, changing Board of Selectmen to select board throughout the policy. I can do that.
Fair enough. Yeah. Is anybody objecting to that? We don't have to re-say the motion. Because of the new charter being adopted, any place that says Board of Selectmen, it'll now say Select Board. But we should leave it in one place just in recognition of the bang-up job that the state did on our legislation, on the special legislation. So, not that I said that out loud, but I did.
I think I may have said this at Charter Review Committee. The one thing that I'll miss is our acronym of BOS. Love our acronyms, and now we're the MOTSB.
Oh, yeah, well.
Yeah.
We got close to reversing it, but I guess I'm glad we didn't go with the absolute reverse of BOS. That would have not been good. So SB it is. All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, Ms. Adams?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mr. Marino?
Aye.
And an aye for me. Okay. Number 2 is the reasons for denying people who are going to do toll, boot drives or toll booths, as we call them. So we have never indicated any reasons for denial, and we probably, it was indicated we probably should at least list some valid reasons why we should not, in certain situations, not approve of a toll booth as we have. Again, I think the entire Board of Selectmen policies and procedures is in the Google Drive. Let's see where the boot drive is.
Page 88.
There is toll booth boot drives. Yeah, page 88, 5.04.
Is that 88 as a Google page or as it's numbered?
91 is the Google page, Katie.
I'm sorry, what was it?
It's page 91 on the PDF.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll give everybody a chance to locate that. Let me know when you have. Right now, it's a very short policy. So first of all, has anybody, how did this come? I mean, I know that it was recommended to us that we have reasons to, that we adopt reasons for denial, but the fact that we have things that have to be true in order to, like we say, the organization shall be a charitable or nonprofit group, and the proceeds have to be used exclusively for the charitable purposes. So, you know, those 7 reasons or 9 reasons that are listed there, we tell them what they have to do. Has there ever been one where that person met this and somebody said, well, you shouldn't be they shouldn't have gotten a permit to do this?
Not that I'm aware of, but it's been an action item on the action item list for.
Because as I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, so again, we say, don't we say how? I thought we were gonna. I'm looking.
Mr. Chair.
The last paragraph in the policy says failure to comply with the requirements may be grounds for denial of a permit.
Right, so that's one. Ms. Adams?
It goes way back. I think there was a group that a former selectman didn't think should do it. You know, I wouldn't get into the specifics of it, but I think it was born out of somebody's specific concern. And I don't think we've come across, you know, one that has raised any concerns for us, but I certainly think it could happen. And it's always easier to have a policy or a guideline to help walk through like a complicated situation.
Okay, so I mean, what Todd brings up is, I understand the point, but we have to be able to enumerate them. So we can't just say, I don't want to put something in, is that put all this procedure in. At the bottom it says, and then at the whim of the select board, we can deny it, when we have to give reasons why we would deny it if we would. So I think Todd brings up a good one. We can deny it if they have not followed the policy in the past and they have violated one of those 9 guidelines. So that would be one indication. I thought we had put a limit to how many people can do, and I think that's what we should do. I don't think we should allow more than 2 per organization per year, personally. And I think that was discussed in the past. It did not make it into the final policy. But we can't have people doing this, you know, the same organizations doing it more than twice a year. I think it becomes, you know, it becomes burdensome.
Have we had requests for more than 2 solicitations a year?
No, we haven't had them before, but because those groups who come to us, like the Salvation Army, like the Boys and Girls Club, among others, know that we want to keep it to 2. It was kind of an informal agreement, but we should formalize it in the policy.
Well, there's another, well, you know, I'm looking at it as concerns, and all the concerns a lot of them are covered. And as you said, that would be an important one. But I don't see any time of day. I mean, I know nobody's going to do it at night, but I mean, maybe
well, it does say a half hour after sunrise and a half hour before sunset.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, it's number 3 in the items, those 9 items.
No, I totally missed that. I'm sorry. All right, that covers it. But it does cover most of the concerns.
Yeah, these are all safe. Most of them are safety. Yeah.
I mean, to your point, Tom, I think we could add a sentence that no charitable organization or nonprofit group may, conduct more than 2 boot drives per calendar year or something like that.
Okay, so let's put that in for. We don't have to vote on it now. Let's put it in and review it next week if we can put that verbiage in, and also the it already says it may, but I guess if we're going to say that. So I think what sentence Todd put in is good, and I think we should have a section that says you can be denied for the following reasons, and put number 1, you request more than your allotment per year, and number 2, if you failed on a previous in the past, let's say 12 months, if you failed to follow the safety guidelines that are that are listed here, in the last 12 months, then you could be denied.
Okay.
Does anybody have any other scenarios they can think of? I mean, of course, no matter what we think of, some scenario at some point will come up that we're like, wow, we wouldn't have foreseen this. But I mean, we can't think of everything in advance.
I think it's been going smoothly since it's been happening, so yeah, that's good.
All right, so Madam Town Manager, if that can be just drafted, if Elaine can draft that, send it to me. I'll do the final wordsmithing and then send it back, and we can vote on it next week.
I do miss that they don't actually use boots. I mean, that's when it started. It was the firefighters. So.
You don't want to start digging for money in boots, believe me. Okay, and the last one on the list was a policy for approving signage in right-of-way for nonprofits and other groups. So, of course, these are lawn signs, advertising signs, etc. And people want to put them on town common, on any town-owned land, on islands that, on those few remaining streets that have islands, and they Y at the end, so they have this big bit of grass. And we shouldn't, again, you can't just plant signs there, and they should require permission. And if they're going to require permission, we have to be able to say what kind of signs can go there, and then regulate that. I think this is probably something that's larger and probably would need to be best served as an in-person workshop to discuss it around the table, but we can at least open it up here about what people's initial feeling is on that topic.
That's on public land?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, this also stemmed from, there have been requests in the past for different organizations like Right to Farm, community signage, and other groups within town to put signage. So that's where it came up.
Is this just signage along anywhere in public right of way?
No, it wouldn't be in front of people's property, even though that's the right of way. I think we're talking about parcels of public land, like the town common, like in front of the Ritter building, and places like that. The right of way, even though the town has a public right of way in front of your house,
right?
They give you full permission to put signs there. So you don't have to get permission to put signs on potentially what's, property that the town has a right of way on. We're talking about outright owned by the town. Am I correct in that, Madam Town Manager?
Also inclusive of along a roadway, though, like say you're entering town and this is a Right to Farm community, or I'm drawing a blank on which organization had requested, but different organizations like APDC or the Lions Club have requested signage, and that was where this stemmed from as well.
And Mr. Chair, if I can...
Ms. Adams.
Oh, and I think I'm remembering when we had this discussion a while back, and I think I asked, how does somebody request a sign, and it goes through the town manager. That's correct, Heather?
The ones on like the town common?
Yeah, so the town common came up as an example, and there's some things that feel so easy to say yes to, like a meat bingo sign. I think that was the example. And that's put out by a group. And so what happens if somebody requests to Heather, and this was the nature of the potential need for a policy, you leave, not necessarily Heather as the example, but you leave the town manager in charge of messaging who can and cannot have a sign. So if somebody has a fundraiser for a group that we don't know if that sign belongs on town land, or it creates a lot of extra discussion, that puts that responsibility of saying yes or no to that group's fundraiser in the town manager's court without any policy or procedure. So if the Lions Club or a group that we've been working with in Lunenburg for a long time has a traditional event like meat bingo, it's an easy yes. But then we could be posed with a question where a new charitable group comes forth and says, we want to raise money for pro-life or pro-choice. We have a meat bingo. Then we are now having a request for something on town land that has a lot of probably discussion behind it, with no policy to give a town manager the ability to navigate what signs can and can't go. So I think that's sort of part of the reason looking for some guidance, because the boot drives come to us and we can discuss them and say aye to the boot drive. But perhaps part of the problem with the sign on town land is it doesn't go into a public space. It goes to the town manager. So we could see signs popping up and not really understand what the reasoning was for somebody being there and or somebody being denied, and we wouldn't know who was denied as the public. So I guess it's a bit complicated, but that was what I recalled being the purpose for the discussion.
Yeah, I was not aware that the permanent signs like the APDC sign and right to farm signs, I mean, those typically have been approved in front of the Board of Selectmen when they're permanent signs. So I wasn't aware that somebody was looking for a policy for those. My understanding was the policy was just for temporary signs of a temporary nature. I mean, I don't know of any like signs of the nature that you're talking about that are permanent, right to farm, APDC, that were put up without our permission or without our knowledge. I don't think that's ever happened that I can imagine, because it's another town organization, or the town itself with the APDC. It's a town government body. So I'm just questioning. I'm just questioning that part of it. I just thought we were talking about temporary signs.
Yeah, I was only referring to temporary signs.
I know, but the town manager was brought up as an example of some of the more permanent ones. And, you know, again, they don't come up all that often, and they generally come before us to begin with. I think we could probably focus just on the temporary ones, because those are the ones that really kind of run the gamut of what might be put up and what people might ask for.
So in my view, in terms of temporary signs, I think something along the lines of, you know, organizations that would also be approved for, you know, the boot drive, as Katie referred, you know, charitables and nonprofits, I think would be fine for signage. I think where we get into the slippery slope is when we start dealing with, you know, nonprofits that are political. And then you could have people putting up, you know, all their different views, and I guess where the policy would have to be careful is that we don't endorse, if we allow that, we don't endorse any one particular view or another. They can come before us or before the town manager to get approved, and we spell it out in the policy.
Yeah, again, I think you're right. I think when we come to these things, it's a matter of there are several factors always in all of these policies. It's like, okay, what does the group represent, and what is the group's, you know, mission statement? Number two, what is the frequency that they're going to ask us to do things like this? What is the number of signs they're talking about? What are the size of the signs we're talking about? You know, the political nature, I would probably make one slight exception, and that is if it's a votable, if it's an issue that is on the ballot, that would be one thing. If it's not on a ballot, then yeah, I would agree with that. But I mean, if you take sides on ballot questions or candidates, I guess, well, I'm not even sure about candidates really. That's why we need to discuss this.
Yeah,
a lot of things at stake and a lot of things in play. Ms. Adams.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think the trickiest part, especially if you had like, okay, somebody has a citizen petition article. It's one, whether or not it belongs on town land, it should probably just be handled privately to keep things easy. But two, as it currently goes, they would request through the town manager. And so if somebody got a no, what action could they take versus somebody else getting a yes? It's a very complicated dynamic that I just think, you know, we don't know what signs have been denied. And I don't mean this specific at all to our current town manager, but if it doesn't come up for a request in a public meeting or a public way, some people might be trying to access a form of communication and being denied it. And yeah, so I definitely think boy, does it open up a lot of things to consider. So maybe just no signs. I mean, that's one way to handle it. But that's
certainly an option. That's certainly an option. I mean, the town doesn't have oodles of land anyway that we want to put signs on anyway, but we want it, whatever we write, I think we want to write it strict enough so it doesn't promote people putting it on, and that anything that's put on there, we have pretty much the right to just take off and just take out. I mean, we don't want signs year round. I mean, again, certain things we're fine with, just a matter of frequency and what the cause is, that people, the reason they want to put it out. So I think I think we all need, there's a lot to discuss here. I think we probably all should go back and, you know, think about it for ourselves and then look at other towns' policies and procedures. Many of them are online, and see what their policies of signage are. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. If other people, we can borrow from other people's wording and see what they're doing. and see if it fits what our model is.
That's a good suggestion. I'm confused at we're talking about the APPC, the right to farm and all that. I mean, it sounds like they want to put something at the town line saying it's a right to farm community. Is that what it is? I don't. Throw up a
That's
sign in the center.
happened before, and those have come before the board generally because they're permanent signs and they're kind of road signs almost, even though they're not official traffic signs, but they're road signs. And anything that gets a stake, metal post in the side of the road has almost always come before us. I've never heard of anybody putting up ones without our knowledge before. But the ones that you stick in the ground, I mean, they come up all over the place.
Temporary
Madam
signs. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll defer to.
Okay. Mr. Marino.
I was going to say temporary. The only one I can think of an example of a temporary sign. If a farmer's market wanted to put a sign up on the common because they're having a market on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, that I don't see anything wrong with something like that.
Yeah, and I think we want to be inclusive for things like that promote, town organizations that have, weekly events. And I agree. I mean, that's why we have to write a policy carefully to craft what can be included and what can't be included.
So given that example, is that what we're talking about?
Again, I'm going to let the town manager speak because I've said it a few times, but obviously she may have clarity of something I'm misunderstanding. So I'll ask her to speak.
My recollection of when this was added to the action item list was I wasn't trying to apply that different groups didn't come to the Board of Selectmen, but there was a concern brought up that there would be, I want to call it sign pollution with so many organizations if there were an abundance of signs along the roadway. And it has nothing to do with putting signage on personal property, people being allowed to do that. This is these types of organization coming to the town saying this is, the Lions Club is a part of the Lunenburg community, or you're entering the right to farm community, those types of signs.
Okay, well, I could easily craft something that had to do with those kind of signs because they don't come up often, and we can include those. I mean, that's fine. We can talk about permanent road signs that are on the roadway or on the side of the roadway, and take a whole nother section of this for, temporary signs on town ground, and we can include both. I think it's easy to include the ones that we want for the roadside ones, because we could say if it promotes if the selectmen feel that it promotes the image and the concept of what Lunenburg is, and it helps garner in a positive way the what the town wants to portray, we can do that, and we can put certain things like that. If it doesn't do that, then we can say no, we don't want that, and it's really a judgment call in most of those cases anyway. So we can review and look at this and come back to this. I think this is going to be a more full discussion for this one. So next week we should be able to get the wording for the toll booth. Mr. Passios, you want to contribute to this discussion?
Yes, Dave Passios, 56 Whiting Street. I just want to mention that a number of years ago, when I'll call it the bulletin board, was placed on the library or Ritter building property, I believe there was a strict policy and or moratorium put in place for that area. You might want to just review that and make sure that you don't short circuit what was put in place there, or roll it into your policy that you're trying to develop now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments on this topic? All right. Upcoming meeting, we have a meeting next week on the 15th. One of the things that will be on that meeting, finally, the three of us who gave town manager evaluations. Those are completed. I have all of them. I will be putting them into a single document. And so that will be distributed to the town to the board next week, to which you will read it, and then everyone will have an opportunity to review it, and we can discuss it further on the following week, at which point we would take a vote on it. If there are comments along the way, they should be directed to me. I will give these instructions again next week, but that 2-week process will start next Tuesday. And we will have the aggregate or the summary evaluation where the chair blends all the evaluations into one aggregate evaluation.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Marino.
Will us freshmen select persons receive a copy of that evaluation as well?
Well, the aggregate one will be given to everybody next week, and so this is a kind of a special year. So what generally would happen is this gets done before any election, so that everybody would be participating, because everybody would be doing their own evaluation of the town manager. In this case, since you and Mr. Dwyer are new and you didn't perform an evaluation because you had nothing to perform the evaluation on, not being selectman and not working with the town manager, you will be able to see the aggregate and you will be able to be part of the discussion. But and you can even, during the period where it's available, which will be next week, well, the week between when I give it to everybody and the week we vote on it, you can go to the town hall and see the hard copy of the 3 that were done, just for your edification. But you know, generally you would be able to be more participatory in the commentary, but you'll be able to see it all. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then we have the last meeting of the month is September 22nd. And then we have our the final Tuesday we have off, and then we're back in October. So, okay. Any closing public comment from the public? Mr. Passios.
Yep, Dave Passios, 56 Whiting Street again. First of all, with Selectman Jeffries not here to mention it during the committee reports, I'd like to remind everybody that the TC Passios redesign committee will be meeting Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Our second agenda item is an invitation to community organizations to present to us building as we work on the layout and accommodations of the individual areas. Excuse me. Secondly, I'm wondering, I thought maybe we'd hear something about, after the discussion at the last meeting, about the undefined liquor license that apparently fell through the cracks. I'm not sure that there's an answer to that situation this evening. I've heard one story unsubstantiated, so I will not bring it up at this point. And the other thing I'm wondering about, pretty much the same issue, and I'm wondering where the Jack's Country Store license submittal process is at this point. I'd like to make sure that doesn't fall through the cracks also. Thank you.
Thank you for those. We will get answers to those. Any other public comment from the public? Any public comment from the board? Ms. Adams.
Sure. I probably should have said it at the beginning or in some form of announcement, but next week school begins. And so just that normal alert for school buses and all changes and patterns that we'll be seeing around town.
Thank you. And I would be remiss, I'm sorry I didn't bring this up at the beginning of the meeting or even the beginning of last week's meeting, so I apologize. That I want to thank the town clerk and all the election workers for putting together a very, very simple and safe mechanism and procedure to go vote. Everything was very orderly. They took in a ton of votes, a lot of them mail-in, a lot of them absentee, but a lot of them are in person too. And I want to thank them for their dedication and for putting together an in-person scenario that people could feel safe in using their right to vote and not losing that and not feeling like they had to make a choice between safety and civic duty. So thank you to all those people who made that happen. All right, any other board comments? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Ms. Adams,
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer,
Aye.
Mr. Marino,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Thanks.
You as well.
Good night. See you next week.
Good night.